What's this called? Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we're going to be looking at the PlayArts Super Street Fighter IV Arcade Edition IBUKI, which is not one of my favorite characters in all of the Street Fighter games, but she's a pretty cool character, nice character design, and this is a great figure of her. PlayArts really, or Square Enix, did a really good job with this one. It might be the best of the Street Fighter figures to date. You can go back and check the other reviews that I've done for them for Ryu, Akuma, Cammy, and Chun-Li, but I like those, but this one they just seem to have gone a little bit further in some areas, so I really like this one a lot. So let's get into the figure itself. Before we go into articulation stuff, let's look at accessories. She comes with a total of 5 hands. She has 2 fist hands, so there's one there on her left hand, and here's the right fist. Not too much going on there. Then she has 2 open palmed hands. They're the same, just for opposite sides. Paintwork's not the best, but it's good enough. It's okay by me. And then she has this one hand that has her weapons in it, which is pretty cool. They don't come out, they're sculpted in, but it's still a really cool piece, and the detail on the weapons is nice. There's nice shading and texturing, so that's pretty cool. And she has an interchangeable head. So this head, you can see just a plain old straight face, and then this head has kind of like a yelling face. And then you can see here that there's holes in the head because the hair is interchangeable. That way they didn't have to sculpt it on each one. It just comes out. You see the little peg there. Now the problem is the peg is a little bit loose. Even when you push it in all the way, they tend to pop out pretty easily. But it's not really a problem, just something to take note of. And the same thing can be said for the hair on the back of her head. This pops out not quite as easily, but it does come out pretty easily because the peg's kind of small. Unfortunately, this does not have a swivel, at least not that I've seen or found in it, so the hair is just going to be facing straight back. It would have been cool if there was a swivel in it so that we could spin it around for some posability options, but we don't have that. So not the biggest of problems, but it is something to note. She stands about, it depends how you're going to pose her obviously, but right now to the top of her hair she's just under 9 inches, and her knees are bent a little bit, so about 9 inches tall. Pretty much in scale with the other figures. She's kind of tall, but not so much that it's a problem. And she just looks really good. The overall look of the figure is phenomenal. It looks just like it's supposed to. All of the sculpt work is good. There's only one, or I guess I should say 2 issues with the sculpt work that make it not quite look like IBUKI as much, and that is her chestises. They're a little bigger than they probably should be. PlayArts tends to do that with a lot of their figures. I'm not really going to complain about it, but if you're really dying for an accurate figure, that part is embellished just a little bit. The rest is spot on, though. They did a really good job with it. I do wish that this piece here, the little mask thingy, they made another one that went up over her face like Soda did, but if I remember correctly, I don't think she ever has that up over her face in Street Fighter IV, so maybe that's why it's just sculpted on. Let's look at the paint application. As you can see here, the head on both, or the paint on both heads is the same, and it is incredibly good. It really is fantastic. Just look at the detail in the eyes. Everything is just so well done. So the paint on the face is really perfect, I think. Not glossy, no problems at all with that. The paint on the rest of the figure is good enough. It's not super fancy, but there's enough shading and color variation that it's good with me. There's shading in all of the skin texture, or skin tones, and on all of her tannish yellow outfit parts, there's nice shading on that as well. Nothing special, but definitely enough to make the figure look good. So I am happy with that. As far as articulation goes, the head, it's easy to show you, is on a double ball peg. Come on off. So you have it moves down there, and then the head moves on top of this peg, and the neck is on a separate ball peg as well. So that is individually articulated. So that's kind of cool. One issue I have with the head, it's not a big issue, but if you look, the head's a little wobbly on the ball peg. You kind of have to wedge it on there to get it to stay sometimes. But it's not really an issue because it'll stay in place, but it is wobbly in some positions. And the way they put the peg in, it's a little far forward, I think. You can see that big gap back here between her hair and her neck. I wish the peg sat a little bit farther back. It's not a huge problem, but it is something to note. The shoulders have the butterfly joint. It doesn't give her a huge range of motion, even though this is a softer material. You really can't get the arm too far forward anyway, but it is there, the butterfly joint. Then it has a ball hinge on top of that, so you can raise the arm no problem. You can see the disc in there. A bicep swivel. This one pops off pretty easily. You can actually start to see the peg a little bit in there. And if you give it a tug, it'll come right off. So that's not ideal, but it's not too loose to be a problem. Ball hinge elbow, it swivels in the bicep and the forearm and is lightly ratcheted there. Same type of joint for the wrist. It is a smaller version of that joint, so it's a little bit more fragile when you're interchanging the hands. Just give them a little twist, and you can see how that separates there. Be very careful. It probably won't break, but it could. Let's put her hair back on. That's a good example of how it pops off pretty easily. Okay, so the wrist has this swivel at the forearm and at the hand and is ratcheted. She's missing one of the pieces of articulation in her torso. Normally there's two parts, the waist and up in the torso. She doesn't have that. She only has the ball peg in the waist, which you can kind of see into if you're looking at the right angle, but that's okay by me because from any normal angle you're not going to be able to see into it, and it gives her a great range of motion side to side, front and back. It's really as much range of motion as you could ever possibly want. It's really good, and you can't see inside of it anyway unless you're actually trying to get inside, so that's fine with me. She's got the floating hip piece. It's a softer material. It doesn't have as much of a float to it as some of the other ones, and it's a little bulkier than some of the other ones from Square Enix, but it's still a soft material and it allows the hips to move just fine. As you can see, they basically are ratcheted ball pegs, so they ratchet from side to side and from front to back, and then the thigh swivels around on the ball peg as well. The knees are a new type of knee joint for the Play Arts figures, which I really like. They look good when they're like this, and they look good when they're like this. I lost a piece of hair again. So as you can see, that's really an issue. But the knees look really good, no matter how you pose them. That's fine with me. If they make all the ones like that, like Ken, for example, instead of using the kneecap joint like they did for Ryu and Akuma, I'd be perfectly happy if they did something like this because it looks way better. You don't get quite as much range of motion, you only get just better than 90 degrees, but it looks a million times better. This is the best knee joint I've seen from Play Arts, so I'm really happy about that. She has a swivel in her shin, right in here. And then the ankle is on the same joint as the wrist and elbow, where it swivels at the top of the ankle and in the foot. So you get the ankle rocker plus the ratcheted joint that you can spin sideways. And then rotate the foot even more if you needed to. That's a bit extreme, but you can do that. As you see here, the wrap part comes down on the front of her foot a little bit, and that will get in the way of articulating the foot to bend it too far up. So what you can do, even though it doesn't look quite as good, is spin the leg all the way around at the shin. So you can see the shins here because it comes to a bit of a point. Just spin that all the way around so that this part's in the back, and you can articulate the foot a little bit farther forward, and it doesn't really look bad. You can't really tell that it's backwards, so that gives you a little bit better range of motion if you need it. Otherwise, just leave it forward and you'll be fine. One issue I have with the feet is that they are not set up for her to stand flat-footed. If you put the foot flat, which you really can't do that easily, you can see that the toes are going to point up. She's got a big curve in the arch of her foot. So when you stand her, you have to stand her with her feet pointed down a little bit just to get her to stand right. So balancing issues will happen. You're going to have to spend some time getting her to balance on her feet like that, or use the stand that is included. It doesn't make for cooler posing to have her feet like that, but it is a lot harder to actually get her to balance. So that's another issue some people might not like. Articulation is really good on this figure, even though it's missing a little bit from some of the other Play Arts figures, like in the torso, and then it's limited at the ankle. It's still really good and definitely more than enough. So I definitely recommend this figure. It is wonderfully sculpted, wonderfully painted. It looks like the character, and I really don't have any complaints about it, just a couple minor issues. Well, this figure comes with the same stand that we're getting from some of the other Play Arts figures. Apparently they're all going to be coming with this from now on. It's got a base and a changeable upright parts, and it's all adjustable, and you probably can't see it very well at all. So let's see if it's in the instruction book so I can show you a little bit better. There it is. So it's got an adjustable upright section. I don't know what is going on with the light. So it's got an adjustable upright section in the base, and then the adjustable claw thingy. So it's a nice little stand. It comes on the inside of the blister. I don't think she really needs it, but you might want to use it, so you can go ahead and take that out. The only problem is she comes with a clear blister, so if you take this off, it's going to make for the packaging to be really ugly. So it's not quite as good as the Halo ones that have the black one that hides this, but you still get this cool purple pink flame. So that's up to you, but it is included if you want it. So go pick it up. If you're a Street Fighter fan or just a fan of cool figures, this one will satisfy. It's very good. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more figure reviews, more custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting. Focus, focus, focus. There we go.